Welcome to HamCram2018. You are about to embark on a groundbreaking journey into the world of amateur radio. This class is designed to acquire your technical class license. So sit back, enjoy the ride. Sponsored by PittsField Community TV.
All right, welcome to HamCram2018. Thanks for everybody who showed up to take the two-day technician course. We are obviously taping this for PittsField Community TV, who gave us the venue and who's sponsoring this along with the Albany Area Amateur Association. Just quick, I want to introduce you to your teachers. Let's start with my graduate from last year's class, Josh, KD2 MNL. My other graduate in the back from last year's class, our club treasurer, Allison, KC1MNI. On the headsets, my partner in crime who forces me out here every year, Rich, KC1BYD. A couple of new people here, Sean, who is going to be here doing work today, KD2NEL. Ron, AC1CX, Steve, KA2PTE. We're going to start it up. So, Josh, if you want to start right off over here, just everything's going to be on the screen.
All right. Majority of the stuff on the screen, the stuff in red, is test answers. Okay, so pay attention to those. A station is never permitted to transmit without a control operator. When a ham radio station goes on the air and begins transmitting, there must always be a control operator responsible for the transmissions. The control operator must present at the controls, may control the station remotely, or may have equipment tied into the transmitter to provide automatic control.
Let me just interrupt you just for a second. Sorry, guys, wanted to say one more thing before we get going. This is a first. Nowhere have we done any of these, anybody has ever done any of these classes across the nation where we are taping it for air. This is going to promote the hobby. If it works, you guys are going to be famous.
You can say, I was there.
Yes.
Okay.
At no time may a technician class operator be the control operator of or on the exclusive extra class portion of the amateur radio bands. A station licensee may designate another person to be the control operator of the amateur station. This person must be only a person for whom an amateur operator primary station license grant appears in the FCC database, or who is authorized for alien reciprocal operation. That means, like, he has a general, if he has bands that are open to him that I cannot use because I am just a technician. So if he's behind the station and he grants me permission, I can go on those bands so long as he's behind the radio along with me.
He's the control operator.
Correct.
Okay, if anybody has any questions for any of these things, just raise your hand and we will answer them the best we can. We have years of experience sitting in this room.
Any amateur whose license privileges allow them to transmit on the satellite uplink frequency may be the control operator of a station communicating through an amateur satellite or space station. The control operator is designated by the station licensee. The control operator and the station licensee are equally responsible. When the control operator is not the station licensee, the responsibility of proper operation of the station falls to both parties. The class of operator license held by the control operator determines the transmitting privileges of the amateur station. The amateur station's control point is the location at which the control operator function is performed. It is the location where you turn the equipment on or shut it off in case of malfunction. Every ham radio station is required to have a control point. The FCC will always presume the station licensee is the control operator of the amateur station unless documentation to the contrary is in the station records. If I let another licensee run my radio gear, I always make an entry into my logbook to note who the control operator was at that time. Local control is being used when the control operator is at the control point. An example of remote control is defined in Part 97, the FCC law book, is when you operate the station over the internet. The transmitter is located at a different site. Automatic control is used for APRS network and other digipeaters. The transmitter is keyed without human intervention. Automatic control is also used for FM repeater operation. The control operator of the originating station is accountable should a repeater inadvertently retransmit communications that violate the FCC rules. You may receive compensation when operating your station when communication is incidental to classroom instruction at an educational institution. School teachers can receive their regular pay during classroom hours demonstrating ham radio for their students. Part 97 of the FCC regulations contains the rules of governing the amateur radio service. Part 97 falls under Title 47 telecommunication in a larger book, the Code of Federal Regulations. At no time is willful interference to other amateur radio stations permitted. The FCC defines harmful interference as that which seriously degrades, obstructs, or repeatedly interrupts a radio communication service operating in accordance with radio regulations. The only time the transmission or codes or ciphers that hide the meaning of a message is allowed by an amateur station is when transmitting control commands to space stations or radio control craft. Under all circumstances, the radio navigation services are protected from interference by amateur signals. Any services that fall under the category of safety of life communications are given top priority. Can you use indecent and obscene language on the air? No. Any such language is prohibited. It must be strictly PG. There are restrictions concerning transmission of language that may be considered indecent or obscene. While a swear word here and there might get through, rank discussions with foul language are absolutely not tolerated on ham radio. Under normal non-distress circumstances, the FCC rules regarding power levels used in the amateur bands say, while not exceeding the maximum power permitted, always use the minimum power necessary to carry out the desired communication. The term broadcasting in the FCC rules means transmissions intended for reception by the general public. You may not operate your station like an AM, FM, or shortwave broadcast station. There are a few circumstances when amateur stations are authorized to transmit signals related to broadcasting programs, production, or news gathering, assuming no other means is available. One is only when such communications directly relate to immediate safety of human life or protection of property. Other circumstances that allow for amateur radio station to engage in broadcasting include when transmitting code practice, information bulletins, or transmissions necessary to provide emergency service communications. Music is generally not allowed on the ham bands. The only time when an amateur station is permitted to transmit music is when incidental to an authorized retransmission of manned spacecraft communications. Normally, money is not to be made on amateur radio, but amateur radio operators may use their stations to notify other amateurs of the availability of equipment for sale or trade. When the equipment is normally used in an amateur station and such activity is not conducted on a regular basis. Be sure to keep your station records in order, because at any time upon request by an FCC representative, the station licensee may make the station and its records available for FCC inspection. Keep a record. All right, questions. When is an amateur station permitted to transmit without control operator? Never. Who may a licensee designate to be control operator of an amateur station? Anyone else? D it is. Who may be the control operator of a station communicating through an amateur satellite or space station? D it is. Who must designate the station control operator? What was it? A. Very good. When the control operator is not the station licensee, who is responsible for the proper operation of the station? Control operator and the licensee are both equally responsible. What determines the transmitting privileges of an amateur station? D. When under normal circumstances, may a technician class licensee be the control operator station of a station operating in an exclusive extra class operator segment of the amateur bands? A. At no time. What is an amateur station control point? See, it is. What type of control is being used when the control operator is at the control point? D. Very good. Under what type of control do APRS network digipeaters operate? A. Which of the following is an example of automatic control? Bless you. What was that? Very good. Which of the following is an example of remote control as defined in Part 97? B, operating the station over the internet. Put remote control kind of with electronics, your computer. Who does the FCC presume to be the control operator of the amateur station unless documentation to the contrary is in the station records? D. Very good. In which of the following circumstances may the control operator of an amateur station receive compensation for operating the station? B. Who is accountable should a repeater inadvertently retransmit communications that violate the FCC rules? A. Which part of the FCC regulations contain the rules governing the amateur radio service? Part 97. What, if any, are the restrictions concerning transmission of language that may be considered indecent or obscene? Any such language is prohibited. Which of the following is an FCC rule regarding power levels used in amateur bands under normal non-distress circumstances? What was that one? Very good. When is a willful interference to other amateur radio stations permitted? Which of the following meets the FCC definition of harmful interference? C. Very good. See, y'all are going to ace this. Which of the following services are protected from interference by amateur signals under all circumstances? D. Radio navigation service. What is the meaning of the term broadcasting in the FCC rules for the amateur services? D. Transmissions intended for reception by general public. Under which of the following circumstances may an amateur radio station engage in broadcasting? B. Under which of the following circumstances are amateur radio stations authorized to transmit signals related to broadcasting program production or news gathering, assuming no other means is available? A, it is. When is the transmission of codes or ciphers that hide the meaning of a message allowed by an amateur station? Very good. When is the only time an amateur station is authorized to transmit music? When may amateur radio operators use their stations to notify other amateurs of the availability of equipment for sale or trade? When must the station licensee make the station and its records available for FCC inspection?